What is going on, guys? Jay the Black here. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in. I'm going to talk about some breaking news. Apparently, ESPN has fired two people today. Both are the people that you see on the thumbnail. One is Robert Griffin III, who had just signed a 3-year deal last year, I believe, was in the second year of that deal that he has signed. He has done work for the NFL main show as well as college football as well. But also Samantha Ponder. Samantha Ponder was the female face of the NFL Countdown coverage team. She's been there since 2011. They made her the host of the show back in 2017. And now they're firing her. Now, I want to get to Robert Griffin first. You know, Robert Griffin is a guy that got demoted recently because they just hired Jason Kelsey. So they paid Jason Kelsey, must have paid him a lot for them to now fire both of these people, especially who have years left on their contracts that they're going to completely write off, right? But I thought Robert Griffin was a guy that they thought was ascending, either it be for their NFL coverage, which wasn't very good, or their college football coverage. So it seems to me that they feel like he had either regressed or he wasn't living up to what they were paying him. Now, I don't know what they're paying him. They must be paying him very well for them to release him like this after 1 year of the 3-year deal he signed. They're already letting him go. Now, he does have a podcast that he does as well, so we'll see where it goes. We'll get into that, but I'm going to talk about Samantha Ponder too. Samantha Ponder, she's been with ESPN since 2011. When she took over, she became the female face of the show. It didn't really interest me much because I felt like Susie Colbert, nobody could really take her place as being like the female voice. And also Susie's background as well. And she was very good at what she did, right? But looking at her stance and looking at the fact that she supports women in sports and the fact that she basically defended Harrison Buckner, a man who only spoke about family and marriage, and that pissed off a lot of these weirdos. And I believe that's one of the reasons why she got fired, because she speaks out against transgenders in women's sports. And I think that was one of the main reasons they let her go. They could have got rid of anybody, right? There's a lot of dead weight on ESPN's television platform. Ain't a lot of good talent on their team. Ain't a lot of good talent I'm seeing. They got rid of her due to ideology reasons. Because we're going to see whether or not they are able to replace her. So let's get into this article from the NY Post. It says ESPN fires Robert Griffin III and Sam Ponder in stunning NFL shakeup. ESPN made a series of stunning personnel decisions on Thursday. Robert Griffin III and Sam Ponder have been let go by the network. The Athletic's Andrew Marchand first reported RG3 had been demoted from his analyst role on Monday NFL Countdown this season after the network hired retired Eagles center Jason Kelsey. He had also been working as a color commentator on ESPN's college football coverage before the surprise move. Griffin had been at ESPN for 3 years and still had 2 years left on his deal. One of the potential quick landing spot for Griffin would be the NFL Network's Game Day morning studio show, as the program still has not hired a replacement for Michael Irvin. Griffin won the Heisman Trophy in 2011 at Baylor and was the second overall pick in 2012 NFL Draft. He led Washington to first place in the NFC East and won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but his career was never the same after suffering a torn ACL in a wild card playoff game against the Seahawks. After 3 years in Washington, he was a backup for the Browns and Ravens, with his final NFL season coming in 2020. Ponder had been at ESPN since 2011 and had served as host of Sunday NFL Countdown since 2017. Ponder had been outspoken on social media, speaking out against transgender athletes competing in women's sports. That's what got her fired. Don't believe anything else. It wasn't just budget cuts. It was because of that stance. They couldn't stand it. ESPN is a very woke environment, and if you don't do as they say, if you don't have the right political leanings and talking points, you're going to be fired. And maybe she didn't care at the end. I'm pretty sure they tried to muzzle her and she refused to do it. Griffin and Ponder exits have been characterized as budgetary decisions occurring before the fiscal year concludes at the end of September. While both of them still had time left on their contracts, these moves allows ESPN to write off their expenses now. Don't believe the hype people. They got rid of Samantha Ponder due to how she feels about men participating in women's sports. And also the defending of Harrison Buckner, that's a no-no. But the public, what you got to understand, the public is not angry with her. It's the executives at ESPN, her co-workers who probably don't like her, who talk behind her back, who are playing the politics game. And that's one of the things that Robert Griffin III is going to have to understand, man. ESPN is very political, not only, socially, but in that environment. In that corporate environment, people are playing politics. And if you don't think that people were going to the executive saying we're better off without this guy, you're crazy. That's why certain people are still there and others end up getting fired. ESPN is very political. Look how Stephen A. Smith moved. Look at what happened with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Stephen A. Smith didn't want Max Kellerman on the show. Not only did they take Max Kellerman off that show, they completely let him go from the platform. ESPN is very political, and if you don't play the political game, which it seems that Robert Griffin didn't, you will be out. You'll be out of there. Let me get to this Bleacher Report article. Former NFL quarterback Robert Griffin III has been fired by ESPN after 3 years with the network. So he didn't leave. He was fired, for the people that's going to tell me. He wasn't fired, Jaye. Andrew Marchand reported for The Athletic. Sunday NFL Countdown host Sam Ponder was also fired from the network in what Marchand described as a fiscal year budget moves. That's the first time I've seen a headline or an article where they spoke about the reason why they were firing so many people was because of budgetary moves before the fiscal year end. Usually ESPN would randomly fire people. Now it's because of budgetary moves right before the end of a fiscal year. Griffin had 2 years remaining on his contract. Marchand reported that his salary, which exceeds $1 million per year, will be honored. So even though they're firing him, he's still going to get his $1 million a year salary. The former Baltimore Ravens quarterback had previously served as an analyst for ESPN's Monday Night Football, but was replaced prior to the 2024 season by recently retired Philadelphia Eagles center Jason Kelce. Ponder and Griffin are the only ESPN employees being let go at the end of the network's fiscal year. According to Marchand, Griffin retired from the NFL following his 2020 season with the Ravens. He was part of the Monday Night Football for 2022-2023 seasons, while also appearing on ESPN's Get Up and serving as a broadcaster during college football games. They was getting a lot out of that $1 million a year, weren't they? Both ESPN and Fox Sports were interested in signing Griffin after his initial tryouts for the networks. Bob Burek reported for Outkick in 2021. Sources among the network said Griffin's audition was among the top tryouts they had ever viewed, Marchand wrote then for New York Post. But then they end up firing him. What was the point of the tryouts to only get rid of the guy after he signed a 3-year deal? 3 years later, Marchand reported that the Athletic that Griffin had been viewed as a rising star at the network, but he has leveled off, putting him at serious risk of being out on Monday. I told you he regressed. The acquisition of Kelce, whom Marchand reported was also pursued by NBC and CBS, appeared to have helped push Griffin from the broadcast lineup altogether. Griffin spent 7 seasons in the NFL with Washington, as well as Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens before playing his final game in 2021. He had previously said an NFL team contacted him about a potential return to the league as recently as last August. So he had regressed, and that's why they felt like, you know what, let's just cut our losses. See, if you're going to take a TV job, you have to get better. It seemed like he didn't, and they saw no use for him. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Like this video and share. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'll see y'all next one.